What's up, y'all? Kofi Kingston here, and I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks, depending on what that drink is, preferably non-alcoholic, you know?
How's it going? Untitled Warrior James.
Soda.
I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Maple syrup.
Bella.
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Welcome to the dive bar of the IWC. Welcome to Wrestling on the Rocks. I'm at Ref Marsh. We are at WOTR the show. Welcome to episode 1. Did I say we're the dive bar? I forget. I'm not the best at episode 1.
Yeah, we're the yeah, I believe. I think people know by now that we're the dive bar, but unless you're new, then you wouldn't have known that.
Well, it's only episode 1. Everyone's new.
Yeah. And what do you expect from a podcast that's kind of like has an alcohol theme?
That's a good point. It's easy to get drunk and forget. With me today for Thursday Night Chaser, we got Miss Amanda Jayne. What's up, Miss Amanda Jayne?
Well, hey, Miss Amanda Jayne. Hey, Marsh, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm just going to start off real quick with a little what's in my glass. I'm having more of that wine from last night. Just because it's like super keto friendly, and it was $2 a bottle, so I got all the ones I could. Whoa,
that's now the new $2 check, because
it was on clearance. It wasn't supposed to be $2.
Oh. Because $2 chuck is now $3.50, $3.49 chuck, and I'm like, that doesn't have the same ring.
It does not.
So obviously Trader Joe's is very bougie. I don't know who did that. Maybe the Elon Musks of the world. I don't know. Seems like a Don Callis kind of drink. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah. So I'm actually making my own slush right here, with my Roku slush cup. I'm trying to get sponsored.
Are they good with? Are they good with being spiked? Or spiked slushes easy with that?
Not straight up, because remember, vodka doesn't freeze. I will say that you have to have it very, very cold, and you can do cider, which I can't wait to do pineapple shirt with it. But I will say this: you can mix some of the alcohol once you've got it to your little frozen consistency, but you got to put a little bit at a time, only because remember, it does not freeze. So, or if you get the adult popsicles, they also help them last a little bit longer because they're very melty. That's the only feedback I have about Cutwater is and the others, they're a little melty right away. So
we do have Justin in the chat. Cheers to Just in Time from the In Time Wrestling Podcast. Always a good drinking buddy. Well, last night you and I went live and talked all things AEW and Punk. We'll get into the birthdays in just a second. I just want to make one quick caveat to what we said last night, because some more news has come out today. The injury report on Punk is that he's going to be out for 8 months for his injury, which to me just begs the question more than anything. What does a 2-week suspension look like if you're already out for 8 months? It's like kind of like yelling at someone as they're driving away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just kind of goes like, well, what does the suspension mean or look like if the person's already going to be gone for 8 months? So I think because of that, it even highlights more so the fact that Tony Khan didn't give any real explanation live on air last night. Like last night would have been a good time to say, the titles are vacated because of this reason. Maybe especially if you know a guy's going to be gone for 8 months, maybe it's not a bad time to actually call him out a little bit. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Not my business, I guess.
Well, kind of is our business because, us at the wrestling viewership, it is our business. I think it's our, I don't want to say right to know, but, I kind of think that, we should know, and he should be, I don't want to say full disclosure, but you should disclose at least a few things because, it's not like it's hidden, from the world, unless you really don't pay attention to anything. You just watch the TV. The casual viewer wouldn't know, but to be honest, how many casual viewers do you know of AEW? I don't know any.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. And I'd also like to make a note for every single person that's out there who are posting these let them fight little things of CM Punk and Colt. I've been saying this forever. And everyone always would laugh at me like, oh, that's never going to happen. That's never. It's getting to a point now where it's inevitable. The public wants it. And I just want to say that I was on that trend way before. So back off, people. And you know who they'll probably do it in Chicago. Pro wrestling tees will probably be in the front row, torn on who do you root for? Do you root for the guy that founded this company? Or do you root for this guy that we're making a lot of money from? It'll be very interesting. And I would love a seat in the front row. Would I get it? Maybe. Someone has to support Colt Cabana. Come on now. And also I think Phil's done because he knows that the minute he gets back in a ring, that Colt Cabana chant is going to be so loud and he's going to get so pissed off. It'll either A, make for good TV, or B, he'll just have a nervous breakdown and it'll be great. I'd like both. But, I'm sick.
Yeah. I don't know if he's coming back or not. Because to be honest, yeah, I mean, is 8 months going to be enough time to be away and for have people be excited for you to come back? Or is it going to more or less?
No, people will be excited. They're going to be excited. He could have been part of the Me Too movement, but he would have been one of those ones that's the exception. That's how I kind of feel like CM Punk is. So regardless, there's going to be some people who are hardcore, oh, Colt Cabana is a piece of shit and whatnot, and everyone's going to have a side. But I really think now that if some of your favorites are kind of coming out or doing very subtle jabs about this situation, you might want to kind of take that with a little grain of salt, I think. Because if your favorite thinks that there's something fucking wrong, then there must be. And if enough people, then yeah.
Yeah, just in time to say Punk's time away will count as his suspension. I can already see it. That really doesn't fix anything. Tony just needs to get rid of the problem, CM Punk. Yeah, I don't see CM Punk bringing in anything positive at this moment. You know what I mean? Like we said a long time ago, I don't know how good he's going to be for the whole thing. But I don't know. It was just my thought. I wish that he'd say something more about it. He being Tony, just because, yeah, if Punk's gone for 8 months anyways, it's really not much of a suspension. I've seen a lot of people even speculate on if Punk can go back to WWE. Would he want to go back to WWE? Will he go back? I don't see that working for a number of reasons. But also, who am I? What do I know? And never say never, I guess, right? So, I don't know. I just want to get that out there because that was kind of news that had come out, was that 8 months injured and I guess we don't know how long the suspensions are going to be, right? So I don't know, but we talked a lot about it last night on our You Punked Up episode. Tonight we're talking NXT all the way. Amanda, go ahead and hit us with the birthdays, and then we'll get into Worlds Collide.
Yeah, we've got some really great birthdays. Today is a very special birthday to a really unique professional wrestler. So happy birthday, David Arquette.
Woo, former WCW champion.
Yeah, he's actually a pretty good wrestler. Deathmatch, not so much, but yeah. But hey, you fought Nick Gage. They obviously didn't know who Nick Gage was, but you know what? That's okay. We've got a lot of great ones. Brian Pillman Jr. Happy birthday. I love the Varsity Blondes, okay? I'm not gonna lie. I think I've said that on episode 1. There's just something about him and Griff Garrison that just works. And I like that. Sarah Logan.
Oh, very cool.
Happy birthday. Yeah. Do you think she's gonna be coming back or no? Or
I don't know. I kind of I think that there's a good possibility she does if she wants to come back. I think my hesitation is I just don't know if she wants to wrestle. But I think when she wants to wrestle, it's WWE she's going back to.
Yeah. No, that's what I was saying. Like, now that Triple H is back.
Yeah, I think
really,
Triple H would take her back for sure. But she was in that one segment. They did the Viking funeral for the New Day. She was in that segment. They didn't show her face head on, but she was like, they're shooting her from the back and from the side, and you knew it was her.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. One of my little brothers in childhood, one of his favorite wrestlers' birthdays coming up, Don Morocco.
Oh, very cool.
I know it's a really random like birthday of someone when you were a child to like, you know what I mean? It's strange. Another birthday, got a shout out to this gentleman. He actually has a really cool shirt on collar and elbow right now, but happy birthday, Trevor Murdoch. Still one of my favorite guys over at NWA. I'm really glad that he's still there and, kind of doing his thing. We're always like Trevor Murdoch. He's always been a favorite. Paul Heyman, boy.
Oh, that's cool.
Your client, boy, he needed your voice. But, but I love me some Paul Heyman. So, but I'm curious to think, what does Paul think about all of this?
That's a good point. That'd be funny to...
I'm waiting for people to ask people real questions. Like, Paul, what did you think about, that whole media scrum and the results of after?
Yeah.
That'd be very interesting. I don't know.
I'm curious to know, even outside of what he thought of that, if something like that were to have happened while he was in control of a company, how he feels he would have responded to it.
Yeah, that's a good question too.
You know what I mean? Like, if that happened to you in ECW, how do you believe you would have handled it then? And how do you think Tony should handle this now? Because those could be two completely different things, right? He could have been like, hey, dude, I was a hothead back then. I'd have done this, that, and the other thing. That's not how I should have handled it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'd like to know. He's so smart that I want to know. And he's so historical. How do you think a younger you would have handled this? And how do you think a current you thinks you should handle it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two different mentalities, I'm sure.
I'm sure Cornette has talked about it. I don't like saying that name, but
a little bit. But I'll be honest, I listened to it to see what he had to say about it, and it was pretty lame. A lot of it. He was just really. I mean, it's not a total shock. He was like defending Punk in every little aspect and saying everybody else was wrong and Punk was right about everything. And yeah, it was.
Well, because he hates Cole.
He hates everybody there except for Punk. Even when you listen to his reviews of the other stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't like any of those guys.
Yeah, so. Punk's the only person that he likes there. I mean, outside of like MJF, but that's pretty much it. Everyone else will trash. They think they think Ricky and Hobbs are good, but the only people that they'll go on these 5-hour tirade rants and try to defend every waking action that they ever make is Punk. Punk and MJF, yeah.
Whatever, he's on that payroll, obviously. Okay, yeah, we'll say allegedly. Allegedly, yeah, no. So that's who's shooting info to Punk info out there. It's Jim Cornette. Man, how you like that? Anyways.
Yeah, I don't think he's on the payroll. I just think that he's
I'm just kidding.
He just goes back with Punk far enough that it's just lame.
Yeah,
like even the reasoning and excuses he gave, like none of them were like hold any bit of water the second you hear it. So it was like a waste. It was a waste of time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, let's see here. Where am I with birthdays? Road Warrior Animal birthday. Angelina Love, who's now also another NWA person. It's funny to me. Obviously, Bully Ray, not to be a part of ROH. So where does he go and take over? Him and his clan. Enough said. Enough said. About that one. Baron Corbin, happy birthday.
Oh, that's cool.
That was
so
I
got that coffee he had, and it was really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Ignorant Gentleman line. He's got I have a T-shirt, and they have came out with like a dark roast coffee. We got a bag of it, and really enjoyed it. Really good.
Oh, nice. See who else. And we have one more birthday. And I thought, I don't know if you ended up watching the Tony Storm Penelope Ford match, but Penelope Ford is having a birthday today.
Oh, very cool.
And I kind of really liked it. I mean, I thought that this was the Penelope Ford before that I've seen, like, you know, in some of her GCW heyday. And I was like, it was good to see that Tony was bringing out some of the best in her. So kudos to Tony Storm with that. And I think that that's really where the women's division, you need those moments where you're bringing the best out of everybody. And I don't think that a lot of the women there do that. So this was a joy to watch. But Kit, you took the box off, you yelled at the box, and you put it back on. I don't get it, but whatever. So those are your birthdays this week. Happy birthday, everybody.
Very good, very good. Well, let's get into it. Let's talk Worlds Collide in the aftermath.
Yeah.
Worlds Collide opened up, and it was pretty cool. Did you also get the chance to see Gunther and Sheamus at Clash of the Castle?
Yes, I did. I saw actually the whole Clash at the Castle.
All right. We don't need to review the whole show. It was pretty cool, though.
No.
It was really good. But
Oh, Sheamus and Walter. Holy shit! All right, my mom was going back and forth from the living room and whatever, and was like, "See this guy right here?" Because she loved Walter's entrance. She thought it was so, what was her word? She said, "This is a very fancy entrance." I'm like, I don't think my mom's ever really seen some of these fancy entrances, but she was very impressed with the Ring General Code, you know, and Imperium as a whole.
Yeah,
but then when
back
Sheamus,
together.
Yep, that was really nice. I liked that. I hope that continues. Yep. But when she saw Sheamus, I said, "See that guy?" Right? And I was pointing at Sheamus. I said, "Yeah." I made the comment of, you know, when they made a figure of him, they had to, because he's so pale, they had to make a special color for his figure. She just kind of laughed about that. So but good. When she saw all those chops, she was like, "Oh my God." I go, "Well, if you heard it in person," I said, "that guy, the guy whose coach you like, it sounds like a shotgun going off."
Yeah.
And I said, "And if you can hear it through the TV in that loud of an audience, that's pretty loud." Yeah. And you could. So, but I thought it was a fantastic match.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was awesome. It was just because this was you know, the end of NXT UK. I thought that it was also suitable having that match as a big, just to talk about it for a minute here. And it was just, yeah, Gunther versus Sheamus, incredible. That does bring us to Worlds Collide, though. Ricochet versus Carmelo Hayes. My only problem with Carmelo Hayes is his finishes get so messy that they bury the ref over and over and over again. I didn't talk about it outright, I don't believe, a couple weeks back when he did his match against Giovanni Vinci. Carmelo was trying, I think I did talk about it, was trying so hard to do this fancy, weird flip thing to finish the match that his feet ended up under Giovanni's shoulders.
You did. Yes.
So the ref is sitting there staring at shoulders not on the mat and counting. And while he's doing that, because Carmelo's trying to like make it look like he's weaseling it in, he also inadvertently just yanks Giovanni's shoulder up an extra foot.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
right.
all like watching the ref count, and I'm all like, you're watching a dude literally like in a place where he's kind of hovering over the mat, and the ref counting looking like a moron because that's the finish, right? This was a similar but different. This wasn't a move thing that was an issue. It was the amount of use of Trick Williams being in front of the ref. The ref's literally watching it, but the commentating has to say the ref didn't see it, but you can see the ref see it and have to act like nothing's going on. Like Ricochet having to get out of the ring to like do stuff to Trick, the ref still being like distracted by Trick. It's like, at what point does the ref say you're clearly... Ricochet was counting, or was Ricochet pinned him. The ref was counting, and Trick pulls Carmelo back to get him under the rope. It's not that he just moved his foot up and ducked like you see something like a Miz might do. He yanks his leg so the whole body moves. And the ref goes, "Oh, look, his foot's under the rope now." I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was just, it was so much. It was really bad. The ref looked like an absolute moron in this match. And it was really unfortunate because it was otherwise a very good match if it didn't have such convoluted ways of trying to protect someone or not being in the exact right place that you ought to be in to make that thing move. There was maybe a lack of precision, maybe a lack of practice, but you have two dudes who were like incredible doing this.
Yeah.
Trick's definitely very good. I don't think we've seen enough of Trick for me to be able to say like, hey, he's at X level, Y level, A level, whatever, but he is good at what he's doing. He's good and comfortable on the mic. He's in fantastic shape. He had a match we'll talk about in a little bit against Ricochet that was good. But knowing where Melo and Ricochet are and how good they are, to see this match, you don't need all that. Yeah? And you don't need to bury the ref. Like, I'm getting tired of watching Melo matches strictly because it's like, okay, how is he going to make the ref look stupid this time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that sucks because it's like the match is great and then it has to be finished by burying the ref every time. It's a very AEW way to end a match. We'll have a whole bunch of interference in the end right in front of the ref. The ref will be tying their shoe and closing their eyes and doing a cartwheel so that way everyone knows the ref's not watching when they're watching. And it's bad. It's a bad way to finish it because it's kind of like it messes it for me. Yeah. But these two dudes were amazing. Had a ton of amazing spots, and the psychology was there in their movements. Their chemistry was fantastic. You didn't need to bury the ref in any of that. It didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
And both these dudes are so believably great that either one winning isn't making the other one look bad.
No.
You don't have to have a messy finish. You could also just have a regular finish. But I know they were trying to lead to a Trick Williams match, but go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that really bothered me too with the ref. And just like, do you not see Trick? Every time Trick does something, you're like looking at him. So it's like, unless you're like me and you can't see distance, well, if you can't see distance, you shouldn't be a ref. Okay, first of all, you shouldn't be doing those kinds of things. But, it was just, I don't know, it just threw me off. But I don't know. I just was like, I'm not going to let that spoil what I thought of the match. Because what I thought of the match was, I thought it was amazing. Granted, I thought, man, if some of these other things suck, this is a horrible way to start it because you're gonna go on a real high and then whoa, what the hell? But nothing disappointed, which was good. So for me, what's great is I really liked the fact that we're seeing this coming off the heels of watching Ocean Spray, Will Ospreay on a big level, having a flippy dippy kind of sort of match, and how awkward. And I'm not saying this because I don't like Ospreay and I love Ricochet, but you could tell it was very awkward, when Ocean Spray wrestled. Whereas like when you saw Melo and Ricochet, that was smooth. And I mean, I know a lot of people don't like that kind of wrestling because like, it's really choreographed. Yeah, but if it looks smooth and it doesn't look dangerous, that's a whole different thing. When you look at it and you're like, that's where sometimes like with a Phoenix, Sammy Guevara, quite all the time, a lot of those guys, like, it kind of cringes. But when done right, it's amazing. I've seen Ricochet versus like a Matt Sydal. That's another one that's a person that's been very smooth with. I've seen him versus Ocean Spray. That one, it's like when you watch Will Ospreay, it's a different Will Ospreay because he knows that he needs to step it up if he wants to look good in comparison. And that's not because I don't like the guy. But I've seen Ricochet with a lot of people that you wouldn't even think, whoa. And it's just, he's an incredible worker. And it was nice to see him at least back again on TV last night. So, thumbs up for me. I was like, man, that was such a good match. I was just like, God, what? Can anything top this? I'm going to be, I don't know if I'm going to be disappointed in some of this stuff.
Yeah, we got the "This Is Awesome" chants pretty early on to start with that one. It was
Very
kinda-
early on.
Yep.
Very early on.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
Grim Reaper coming through. Cheers, Grim Reaper. He joined me and Kev yesterday talking about Clash of the Castle.
I know Grim wanted to hear what I had to say about all of that. You'll have to go back if you haven't yet.
Yep.
To episode 1 that we did.
And then we can go back and forth a little bit because we do that after a lot of the pay-per-views with WWE is the aftermath,
Yeah.
including a thing.
Mhm.
But we did, as an aftermath of this match, get Ricochet versus Trick Williams on NXT on Tuesday, which also I thought was very good.
Mm-hmm.
Ricochet's so good. I don't know why they don't use him more.
You know, I'm hoping that with Triple H back, you know, kind of at the helm, with having Shawn Michaels, you know, doing creative back there, that they really kind of give him a shot on something a little bit bigger than what he's got. Because it's proof right there that he made 2 people look really incredible, and it looked pretty flawless, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of shit I want to see on TV. Is I want it like, you know, I don't want it kind of like botchamania every 2 seconds, but if you give me some quality here and there, sprinkle a little, I'm a fan.
Yeah. It was good stuff. The Fatal 4-Way Elimination match for the Tag Championships.
Yeah.
They took out, what was the order of, I feel like they got rid of Gallus pretty early on.
Yeah, I think Gallus was the first one out.
I think so too, because I feel like as soon as they were eliminated, I stopped paying attention. Because to me, of all the teams in there, Gallus was the one that I wanted to win, because I strictly just don't have it in me to care about the other 3 teams. So as soon as Gallus was out, let me see. I'm trying to read this thing to see if it says what order, because yeah, I think they were right away. Because I'll be honest, I just finally heard the end and saw the music playing and saw it was pretty deadly, and I was like, all right, well, I'm glad I didn't pay attention to that.
Well, I felt the same way. Like when Gallus was out, I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch. Right? I'm like, oh, Pretty Deadly's going to be the next one eliminated, right? And I guess they're keeping it with, you know, NXT and not, you know, whatever, right? No.
It was also strange because Gallus comes in to make the messy interference towards the end, which at that point is just ridiculous. But this was the one that we talked about going into this, that, well, they're not going to just bury NXT UK. You can't do that. Why would you just say all of NXT UK sucks, right? So going into it, we thought, well, at the very least, Gallus to get in the tag titles. As far as the men and women's championships, it's really hard to say. It's possible, but not impossible. But Gallus seemed like the shoe-in. Well, that's the one that you would do for sure. And when they didn't, I was all like, oh, no. I was like, we're really about to bury NXT.
No.
Yeah. We're really about to tell the world that NXT UK ain't shit, aren't we?
Yeah. And then, okay, I will say this. Okay, when they showed Roddy being carted away on a stretcher, like, okay, what shenanigans is going to happen? Because Roddy is now like...
Oh, yeah, Damon Kemp turned on the Creed brothers, and I was like, all right, well, I guess we're done with Diamond Mine, which is fine by me.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I laughed when they did the playback of what happened earlier, and they show Roddy Strong on the ground looking like he got shot with blood all over him and a torn shirt. And I was like, what? They really overdid it on that one.
Okay, poor Roddy. Bless your heart, Roddy. Okay, you're horrible on the mic. Your acting skills need a little help.
All he had to do was look beat up. He looked dead instead.
I know. Poor guy. Yeah, no. I'm like, oh, Roddy.
It was so funny. They just overdid it with the fake blood, I think is what it was. They did so much of the blood that I was like, oh my God. What, were they going to say he got stabbed?
it's Roddy too, so you're like, okay, this is not going to be sold very well. But that's okay. At least it was humor. I was like, oh, Roddy, no.
And then I think, if I remember correctly, they did have backstage on NXT with Pretty Deadly talking about the Creed brothers, but they didn't.
Mhm.
Oh, and the Gallus was in that final match, so we'll talk about that one later. So moving through Worlds Collide, the triple threat. This was Mandy Rose, Blair Davenport, Miko Satomura. I thought this match went fantastically. And like I said, the moment that they added Blair Davenport, because I heard a few people go, adding Blair is pretty interesting because they could really make a statement by having Blair get the win. And I was like, all they did was put a carcass in the middle of the match so someone eats a pin and it's not their champions. You know what I mean? They needed to protect both Miko and Mandy. Voila, Blair's in the match.
Yep.
She was there to get pinned. And that's exactly what happened. She got pinned in a heelish, shitty way, which is great for the context of it. Miko does her finish on Blair. Mandy runs in, knocks Mako out of the ring, gets the pin, steals the victory, has both championships. Also, Mandy Rose coming out in the American flag gear like it's Great American Bash. Such an asshole move. So funny.
Like it's
When
Wonder Woman.
Well, it's funny because I even saw some people saying online, we better not hear any USA chants out there because it's like America versus the UK was like how people were like really looking at it. Or were saying to not look at it, right? But that's why I love that Mandy Rose had American flag gear because she really leaned into like USA.
Yeah.
USA. And it was just
You know
such a
that
shitty thing.
But you know the shitty Orlando crowd was going to do that.
I don't know if I heard them chant USA during
They
the
did.
thing.
It was, I think, once.
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 But I thought it was funny because a lot of people saying like, hey, that's passe to say it's America versus the world kind of a stuff. And I was like, yeah, but a heel wouldn't care that it's passe. They would say I'm representing America, not just NXT.
Yeah.
So I thought her gear was really funny for that. Even the glasses had the flags on them. So funny.
Yeah.
But what'd you think of the match?
You know, I loved it. It actually blew a lot of my expectations, and this is more toward Mandy than anything, because you know I know that we were talking about how we loved this whole story of that about basically taking her seriously, giving her that respect, respect my name. And I think that it went wonderful into this program, and the way that Miko is now set up, which you see with this week's episode, I thought that was it just was perfect, because you really just couldn't, there isn't too much more that you could have done.
Yeah. Now,
in my heart of hearts, I was like, yeah, I kind of want Mandy and Toxic Attraction to move up. But, is what it is. But I'm happy either way with it. And of course, yeah, they needed that sacrificial lamb. Because you can't do even though it would be nice to have, Cora Jade basically fucking get her, shit be told, but that's going to be coming up. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, so it was kind of perfect. Now, does Blair Davenport stay around?
Here's what I was thinking too, because I was going to go into the same thing. So yeah, first off, I thought this match was awesome, and I also thought that Mandy Rose really stepped up another level as well. I also laughed when she won, just knowing Justin Time was going to be at home screaming his head off, just mad because he's so tired of her as a champion, and now she's a double champion. So fucking funny. But I'm here for pettiness, so to me, I like that stuff. But
I know.
Mandy Rose, I felt like in that match, really showed in a number of ways that she belonged in that match, and she belonged in that conversation. That she shouldn't be necessarily beating Miko one-on-one for a title, but could she reasonably, deservedly be in a match with her? Yeah, absolutely. And I felt like it was that moment of put some respect on my name. Like, she hung with them. It was great. But fast forward to NXT Tuesday, digital exclusive backstage. Roxanne says, "Thank you, Maiko," walks away. And then Cora Jade comes up and says, "Hey, I know you're scared of me. Have a match with me." And she goes, "I can't." She goes, "That's okay. Don't be worried about how bad I'll beat you and stuff." And she's like, "I can't." Maiko says, "I can't because I got a match with Roxanne." Obviously, Cora Jade's upset. Whatever. The Roxanne match, first and foremost, was fucking fantastic. It got the crowd chanting yet again, which we don't hear a lot. So it's not as token as it could have become. They were chanting women's wrestling. And they don't do that all the time. They really don't. I feel like that's one of their chants that they protect. They don't do that for every women's match. They don't do that for, with all respect, they don't do that for like Nikita Lyons. You know what I mean? Because they understand the difference between showmanship, between big characters, between people that they like, their faves, and when you really truly see women's wrestling, and when you really truly see women's wrestling highlighted in such a way that you go, the future is going to be okay, right? They chanted that during Sasha and Bayley at TakeOver because it was, the future is bright if we can do this. This is what we want women's wrestling to look like, right? Roxanne and Maiko started getting a women's wrestling chant, which I don't remember the last time I've heard them chant that, if I'm honest. And
I don't think they've
match.
ever chanted it as long as I've been watching NXT.
It's been years. It has to have been.
Yeah.
Which is why I was saying it's not a token one, which you think it might, because I feel like This Is Awesome is a token chant. Holy shit is a token chant. A lot of them, a lot of the fans will chant those things for a specific spot and not for the story of the match. Women's wrestling's one that's protected for the story of the match. You know what I mean? And Roxanne and Maiko, even without having a story that brought them there, like Sasha Bayley, were able to put on a performance that I think people could watch over and over again and say, "Hey, wait a second, this is very good." So it was incredible.
And it's good tape if you're a woman, you're just starting out to watch. I think that it was very, very textbook in things of in that nature, and especially because Roxanne is so young, and to be able to hang like that, because there's other people that I don't know. I don't think so. Could do that.
I don't think they could have put on that same match. I think Roxanne, she has the Prodigy on her jacket, and I don't know where she got that name from. I don't know if it was a joke at first or if it was bestowed on her. Like Keith Lee talks about the bask in his glory came from Dusty Rhodes. The first time he ever saw him, he said, "Boy, you've got an aura that I can bask in," and that's where it kind of came from. Bask in my glory, you know. I don't know if someone like a Booker T pulled her inside and said, "You're like a prodigy," you know, and if it was like, "That's it, you're the prodigy," and it could be, I don't know. I don't know the story of how the project came about. Maybe I'll dig in and see if I can find Grim Reaper if he's still listening. He's our resident fact finder. He might be able to find the story of it. But when you see matches like this and know how long she's been there, how little she's trained there because she hasn't been there very long, you see that and you go, she might actually be a prodigy. She is that young and that good. We have another 20 years with her probably, and that's remarkable to think about.
That's your next like Trish. That's your next like big like Hall of Famer right there. This is,
could be your next Bayley. You know, realistically, I know that they're like around the same kind of, and that's the other thing. I talked about it before. I don't remember. I think maybe it was you. We're seeing now generations overlap that we didn't used to be able, that we haven't seen since the men going from Ruthless Aggression to Attitude Era, like that kind of overlap of like, oh, you're still seeing Cena with the Shawn Michaels, and people go, and people, I mean, there's a fan base young enough now that you say, oh, John Cena faced Shawn Michaels. It's like, when? You know what I mean? Like, holy cow, what are you talking about? Like, when did they were in the company at the same time? You know what I mean? But like, there was a big gap, right? There's Shawn Michaels early 90s, late 90s, and then there's Shawn Michaels early 2000s. There's a gap in the late 90s, right? There is an era where they kind of mixed, and now we're starting to see the generation that Bayley and Sasha and the Four Horsewomen inspired
Mm-hmm.
actually get old enough to be around them enough that they're going to get their chance probably. It's not like Bayley now saying she wants a match with Trish Stratus. Is it possible? Yeah, because Trish isn't dead. But is it possible the same way that Kevin Owens said he wanted a match with Stone Cold? How long has that been fantasy? I actually have a trading card right over here of fantasy matches, Kevin Owens versus Stone Cold. And on the back of it says, the match they could have had would have been amazing, but we'll never know. Because it's impossible because Stone Cold's done wrestling. You know, Trish is done wrestling. These are fantasy matches because they don't continue to do it. But it's still fantasy because it's still physically, realistically possible. It's just highly unlikely. We're now in a world where Roxanne and Cora and Indy Hartwell, who are here because they're inspired specifically by Sasha and Bayley, are living in a world where that's really not off the table or even unlikely. It's actually very likely they're going to get a match with them. They might even get a story with them. You know what I mean? And I say that because I'm also very hopeful Sasha will be back. Sasha's young enough, prime enough. I think she'll be back. But all of that really sidetracked, derailed. Obviously, we like both these matches a lot. But it brought to my attention Maiko being here for the triple threat to drop that title. She immediately's in there with the ring with Roxanne. So Roxanne could have her dream match and learn a lot. And you know that she's in there. She's in the ring with a notepad in her mind, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that means Maiko's not staying? Because I think Blair's staying. I think she's showed up because she's going to stay. I don't know that Maiko's staying. And if she... Go ahead.
Well, see, this is what I was thinking. Is I think that she'll stay for a little bit because obviously we'll see her versus like Cora Jade. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. Did Maiko wrestle Alba Fire? I'm sure
that's how she won the title.
Oh, okay.
And that's
maybe
even, they hinted at that too. Before the match, they had that backstage segment where Maiko was backstage and Alba Fire comes over and says, you know, something about like that title means a lot. And Maiko just says, I won it from a very tough champion. And they kind of looked at each other and smiled, you know, like.
Yeah. I was hoping to see that program again.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, maybe, you know, because we also don't know what's in store for us that's down in the Performance Center as far as women go, right? Is there anyone that they're going to be bringing up to possibly, you know, use Maiko's the litmus test? I don't know, but to have someone with that kind of knowledge and, you know, definitely being like the final boss, I love that. You know, I think that she'll be around for a bit.
I don't think the WWE wants to let her go. I don't know if she wants to live in Florida or if she wants to travel. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think she might be there for a little bit and then maybe you get main roster. And that's where she'll get her, you know.
Do you think she wants to travel nationally like that?
I don't know.
That schedule's brutal.
It is
Even
brutal.
though it's easier than it used to be, it's still rough.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean?
It'll be very interesting to see. But I really think that because she has wrestled some of the best, obviously, right now in NXT. Even when she was in UK. So it'll be interesting to see.
You know how I book her if I had all the power and money that Triple H had? And if Maiko's going to listen to me? I don't know. I'd let her do a couple weeks in Florida. Get her matches with, you know, the Coras, Roxanne's. I'm sure there's got to be other people who want to have a match with her. Like, because these are people who've looked up to her and known her for a long time, right? Zoe Stark, if she's back from injury. But what I would do is get her a few matches there, maybe a month, maybe two, and then bring her up as part of Damage Control. Have her be one more person that Bayley's speaking on behalf of as an evil final boss in the Damage Control faction, you know?
Yeah. That might work well.
Because also Dakota and Io have wrestled her in Japan.
Mhm.
Bailey's never met her, but would like to. She's talked about that on After the Bell, but I'd put them as a group. Let that be the fourth, because it's one of the things I think it's amazing about the Damage Control faction so far is it's Bailey trying to bring up people who she thinks deserves a bigger highlight and spotlight than are getting, and giving a voice to those that she's afraid that other people don't think they have a strong enough voice for, being able to be that balance. How perfect would Meiko be with that? You know what I mean? That's my thought. That's what I would
If
do.
it happens, Triple H needs to give you some money.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
Or let you have front row tickets for WrestleMania in LA.
Well, speaking of Mandy Rose, actually, there was a hunch I had that she was going to win, because there's a thing she's doing. If you go to her Instagram, it's part of Fan Basis, where they're selling tickets for a raffle. And so I bought a few tickets, because you can also get some merch with it. So I did one where I'm getting like a hat and a tank top, and you get some entries. But the winner gets flown out to Florida to be ringside for one of her biggest matches, they said. But the thing doesn't end till October 31st. And there's more than just that. Like, you get to like have lunch with her, and there's other meet and greet stuff going on. And I was like, well, that's pretty wild. They'll fly you out to Florida and stuff. So when I thought that, I was like, well, there's no way they're going to pull her out of NXT now. They've got this raffle that's centric around her and flying to Florida. You know what I mean?
You just killed it for people.
Yeah. So
thanks for bringing the reality to it. Thanks for freaking
end of
opening.
October, so she's going to be there for 2 more months at least.
I know. Well, thanks for opening the curtain. Yeah. People don't like you. Wrestling purists don't like people like you. When you open the curtain. You open that forbidden door. God damn you, Marsh. God damn you.
I didn't tell people before the match. I waited till after. But her next match, she's winning too. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay. So that just makes you wonder now if that's one of her biggest matches.
Is it her final match?
Could be.
I was thinking that too. When are they going to fly you out? Because if the raffle ends October 31st, that means you're not flying out to like November or December. If they if they're doing takeovers the same weekends that they're doing big pay-per-views, it could be the Survivor Series takeover that you're out there for.
Yeah, could be.
And could be your final.
I was gonna say, you know who I want to see? It would be interesting to see make a wrestle. With Tiffany Stratton.
Yes.
I was thinking that the other day. I was like, that might be a good test to really, to really look at, because I mean Tiffany's good, but to really look at her in-ring prowess.
Yes.
With someone like Meiko. And I think that's something that I would really be interested in seeing.
And without trying to get you on a tirade, I do think she also would work really well with Wendy Chu, even with Chu's silliness. Because when Meiko was in NXT UK, there was a few kind of goofy gimmicks that she worked with, and a few really young talent she was working with, where you're kind of going like, I don't know if this person's ready for like a Meiko, you know? She worked really great with all of them.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
All right, moving along, Worlds Collide. NXT Women's Tag Title match. You got Doudrop and Nikki ASH against Katana Chance and Kaden. Gigi Dolan and JC Jane came out and interfered in the match. They end up holding Nikki back. They got the pin on Doudrop. So Chance and Carter retain. I actually liked the chemistry of everyone in this match.
Oh, yeah.
And it led into a match on NXT Tuesday where Nikki and Doudrop could have a match against Toxic Attraction, which, if you've got Nikki and Doudrop for a couple weeks, like, yeah, let's do that too.
Yeah.
Like, they're great.
Yeah. That was very exciting to see.
I also Nikki was kind of... She was still doing her superhero stuff, right? But I felt like there were moments where she got a little bit more aggressive, similar to her Sanity sort of gimmick. With like wild punches and screaming and stuff. Like, I felt like she was kind of towing that line a little bit of both sides of it, which I thought was really cool.
But then I think you kind of have to bring that out when you're wrestling Toxic Attraction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they're pretty, I don't want to say wild, but but
yeah,
that's kind of
bad guys. I can be a bad guy.
Yeah, you've got to kind of do that and balance that out. So, and I love Doudrop. I'm glad she's.
What do you think of the match?
I really I enjoy Toxic Attraction. I really, I enjoyed both matches. I did, because these are all, I'm fans of both, both teams on NXT, and to see Doudrop coming in and really getting a chance to see her with Nikki, I'm like, God, I really kind of like them as a tag team. I really do, because for some reason they play off of each other really well. You wouldn't think that, like if I personally would be, I don't know about that, but shockingly for me, it's like, oh wow, because remember, people, I don't watch the main product generally, so that was something I'm totally super stoked about seeing. Hopefully they stick around for another couple weeks. That would be kind of nice to kind of see them against some of the other teams, but we'll see.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also liked both. I think Nikki and Doudrop are so fucking good. And in the Toxic Attraction match, at the end of it, Doudrop's pinning Gigi. JC runs in, kicks her in the face, and Doudrop just drops. And she just stays limp. When she finally comes to and starts getting up, her nose is bleeding pretty bad.
Yeah.
I wonder if she didn't get actually knocked out. Because if you watch, because I went back and rewatched it, the second that hits, she falls forward and lays there unmoving. Doesn't even bring her hand to her face. Just unmoving. And then at a certain point, the ref's talking to her, and all of a sudden she kind of starts to get on all fours and starts crawling a little bit and looking around. And I almost wonder if she
got
kind of out of it.
She might have.
Yeah. And then she looked like a badass catching Katana out of the air. Or not Katana. Gigi out of the air. Getting the pin. That angry face she had while she was pinning her too, with the face just bloody.
The blood, yeah.
Such a fucking cool shot.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
I don't want to fuck with her.
I was like, God damn. Badass. But yeah, I was really into that too. The main event of Worlds Collide was Braun Breaker versus Tyler Bate. I had a feeling they would do well together. I feel like their styles are so different, but they're both so strong that you'd see some pretty cool stuff. But it even surpassed my expectations by a lot. I didn't know if we were going to have kind of a short match, if we were going to do it kind of long. It was a pretty decent time frame, and yeah, I was really impressed by this one. And the cool thing about the explosiveness of Breaker is him being able to blindside someone with a spear the way he does it doesn't hurt the person he's taking out. Like, I don't mean physically, but I mean like storyline. Like, Tyler Bate looks like he just ended up in front of a freight train at the wrong second. Like, had he stepped aside, he probably would have been fine and kept going. You know what I mean? Like, the explosiveness of that spear is so devastating looking that you go, he caught him. You know, he caught him. He caught him with that one. There's no getting up. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make Bate look weak at all. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, it makes him look really strong that it had to get to that point for him to do it. And it also made him look really smart that it took that long for Breaker to find his opening to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought it was perfectly done because of that. And I think that Braun's finisher is perfect because of that too.
Yeah. To be honest, going into that match, because of seeing, Clash at the Castle the night before and seeing, Imperium reunited, and then we see Solo Sikoa, I was like, oh, I think Braun's going somewhere. Yeah. That was my attitude going into it. And then I was like, oh, maybe not. But I really did like the match, but I think in the back of my mind when I was watching it was Braun's going up in the world. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought there was a good chance that they were just going to go ahead and bring him up.
Yeah, that's what I really, really thought. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, because I'm not gonna lie, like I don't mind having, Tyler Bate as the unified NXT champion. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Hurt my feelings.
There's some great matches that can come out of that, that you wouldn't think. Because I know I'm itching to, if Mello doesn't go up, I'm itching to see Bate and Mello, to be honest. I mean, but I don't want that tomfoolery of fucking Trick Williams. That's the only thing. But yeah, no, I just was kind of like, oh, okay, that's the agenda. But I really was I was happy with everything. And the way I wasn't happy with the men's tag, because that was just corny as shit. But yeah, everything else was perfection. I just thought that was going to be Braun's swan song, but I guess not. So that's okay.
And then we thought that it was kind of a bummer that there was like a clean sweep against NXT UK. That like, hey, yeah, no one on NXT UK can get the job done. And it's kind of like, oh, what a bummer. Like, you didn't have to do all that.
Yeah.
But
that Pretty Deadly cover up, though, this week was kind of like, oh, yeah, we will. Well, we came up. We were NXT champions, and then we were, blah, 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 and I'm like, okay, is that their way of saving face that to make NXT UK not look like losers?
Yeah, that was their. You could tell coming out of it that was the thought, because I even saw people try to defend that too, and people online were like, "Hey, NXT UK lost the whole thing," and like Pretty Deadly won. No, they were already in NXT proper. They already won the NXT tag titles. They had been removed from the NXT UK scene.
Yeah.
Going into NXT Tuesday though, it was cool to open up with Tyler Bate. Give him a chance to address that crowd. I know it's not the NXT UK crowd, but
they were pretty welcome.
They were great to him.
Yeah.
I think they appreciate him. For him to go out there and be able to say that, in the history books, he's the first and the last NXT UK champion, and I do think that that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
It's really nice. And it was a cool segment. And then Gallus came out and started saying that he failed them and all that. Gallus also failed. And so there's all of that. The crowd was responding pretty much how you'd expect the crowd to respond to a bunch of it, which led up to the end where they all started to beat the shit out of Bate. Breaker comes out to help out and says, hey, I'll team up with Bate against you guys at the end. And they did that. And that main event I thought was awesome. I thought it was sick.
Yeah.
Great team.
Oh, yeah. Enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm hoping he stays around. That's the thing. Are we going to see Galley stay around? Are we going to see Bates stay around? Those are, some questions that I have. Because I think that they fit a little.
Yes. My hunch is the people we saw stick around for Worlds Collide and such were the talent that A, NXT wanted, and B, agreed to move to Florida. I think that there's a number of talent that NXT wanted that didn't want to move to Florida, and they were some of the ones that were released, because I feel like they had to close up shop for NXT UK, right? Some people were terminated because there's no company anymore. I mean, there's larger WWE, right? But I think that the ones who didn't want to go to Florida and said that NXT or UK is their home and they want to stay there, I think they're hoping to come back for NXT Europe when that opens up. I think a lot of them probably will, because I think that they were beloved over there. And they'll probably come at a higher price rate because they'll probably be able to work a little bit more while they're away. But I think the people we saw are ones who want to stay, with the possible exception of the champions, like you said. Whether or not Bate or Micah want to stay here, that's going to be the thing. But I get a feeling that Tyler does. I think he knows that big things are ahead of him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think the one that I'll be interested when he's done off of injury to see what happens with him is Ilya Dragunov.
Yes.
Is he going to come over?
I hope he does.
Or I do too. I mean, I do too. I mean, damn. I mean, I can just some of the matches like come up with in my head. I'm like, woo, but I don't. I'm just curious about that one
He would
because
make a
that's why I
very
thought
good Butch 2.0.
yes, he would. He looks like a Butch. Okay, I'm sorry, I
That's
gotta
what I
go
mean.
there. He does look like Butch. Speaking of 2.0, I don't know about you, but it really doesn't feel like it's been a year.
I know. I thought that was wild to see that too. It's been a full year.
Yeah, and I mean, yes, granted, it took me a long time to warm up to it, but it feels almost like, oh, it's only been a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, because
But
Mandy Rose was out, and they said she'll be back next week for the 2 year or for the 1 year anniversary and stuff and
yeah,
the celebration. So,
I was like, oh,
mhm.
yeah, that was me. What?
uh,
What are you talking about?
what'd you think of JD McDonough and Wesley?
Why is poor Wesley? Everybody's like, he's like Jobber Boy.
Yeah,
He's becoming the new Leon Ruff. Oh, congratulations, Leon Ruff got married, I think last week or something like that. Anyways, no, I'm
Who got
like,
married last week?
or 2 weeks ago. It was
Who?
something recent. Leon Ruff.
Oh yeah, Leon Ruff. He got married last week with
Yeah.
Aja Ref. Cheers to them, by the way.
No, but I'm so tired of Wesley getting freaking like he's like loser boy now.
Yeah, but
JD McDonough, he's good. Yeah. But I was more concerned about Wesley. But I'm like, I know there's been some floating around since Triple H has been back about if former Nash Carter Zachary Wentz is going to come back. I don't know. I would say no. But on the other hand, they are an amazing talent. But I think now that if he were to be entertained, that I think they'd almost have to bring Trey Miguel into the fold.
I agree that that'd probably be a good move to bring him back in.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can't smooth things over with the office enough to do the other thing.
Yeah. Because those were Triple H dudes right there. Because I remember fondly when Regal was there at PWG that time. I remember it because that was the weekend that a lot of people were people that they picked up.
Mm-hmm.
Jonah, Ilya Dragunov, Walter, Gunther, excuse me, it's still Walter to me. And a lot of those folk. A-Kid. Yeah, that was like the star-studded thing. That was a real star-studded one. So they got a lot of people at that one. Obviously the Rascals and stuff like that. So, I mean, yes, I'm still bummed out about everything that happened. But if you're going to use like Wesley like this, what's the point? However,
in the chat says he missed an hour because he was watching our last night's stream replay. Dude, you don't even like NXT. You don't have to watch this one. Watch the one from last night. It was all
watch the one from last night.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
And we're really
on
not
Instagram. Probably gonna get us a lot of heat. Whatever. What? We have famously been referred to as relatively unknown, and I'm very proud of that. Yeah.
But I will say, Splinter Fox, if you do want I have something in the chamber about AEW. So I'll fire it
Maybe we'll
off.
close on that one. But yeah, the thing I did like about the McDonough and Wes Lee thing though was that JD, I've not seen, it wasn't even reversals. But did you notice the control that JD kept on Wes's arm?
Mm-hmm.
In kickouts and in transitions, he kept grabbing his wrist. and he would roll into something else and grab his wrist again. Like, it was really clever in a way that was pretty crazy to me. I was like, why have we not seen someone consistently reverse in the idea of, I'm going to hold on to this? I mean, I guess I say, did you see it? But there were certain points where obviously Wes went to try to run, and boom, his arm was caught again. Like, JD kept control of Wes's wrist in such a way that, yes, it sucks that Wes keeps getting his ass handed to him, but he was facing something like he's never faced before in a number of ways. One, a guy as vicious and crazy as McDonough. I like Vic Joseph screaming, "Get him off me! Get him off me!" when JD went and grabbed his ankle. But he's probably never fought anybody who kept that level of control, and he probably is used to being able to roll through something and someone grabbing that arm. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh no, this usually I get away. Like, just from a kayfabe standpoint, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're also two smaller guys.
Yes.
So it's very rare too when you see Wesley with a smaller guy around his size, too. Because there's always that contrast.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I did notice that. I just was like, is that like JD McDonough thing where, because I don't remember seeing him do that like that. Or maybe I just kind of chalked it up to they're small dudes. And when you have a guy that's around your size, not in like weight, but I'm talking about, height and everything, that those kind of moves are easier to try to do. But then again, I don't know. I don't know. I don't do that stuff. But I mean, I think of like Zack Sabre Jr. or Thatcher. Thatcher wouldn't have that kind of like hold where he's consistently grabbing one part of the body all the time, like reverses it into this and there. So that was very unique in that sense. But I kind of just I think really dismissed it because of the size of the two of them. But now that you really mention it, now it's making me wonder, if I should go back and watch and see if he was doing that with other opponents, or bookmark it in my head to when he does wrestle, see if he does do that. Because I don't think
like a Thatcher thing.
Yeah, I don't think that Braun though. I don't think that Braun would be the kind of person that would really work on. Because of the size again, it was the size.
Exactly, break away.
But now I'm curious. So.
Sprinter Fox does say, I have to say Worlds Collide was okay, but why was there so many interferences? Only the men's and women's was clean wins. On a 5-match card, you're talking about 3 out of 5, dude. That's not like so many. He goes, I don't know. That is just how I see it. The women's triple threat match was the best match of the night. Yeah, I thought it was too. I think the other deal is that it's a show. So they have some of these talents for the next night. We were talking about that. Every interference led to another match for NXT Tuesday with big name stars. Now you have Ricochet versus Trick. Now you have Toxic Attraction against Doudrop and Nikki. What was the other one that had the interference? Oh, the tag match. We didn't even talk about the tag match.
Yeah, well,
I didn't care for that match, but that was a throwaway one, anyways. The tags or whatever. But you end up with now using Ricochet, Nikki, and Doudrop on NXT. Yeah, it's what the interference is supposed to lead to something else storyline, and it did. So it's not like interference for no sake. Let's see, but after Wesley lost again, we had the backstage stuff with Tony D'Angelo and Stacks are back there doing their own thing. They had that interaction with Cameron Grimes. Cameron says he doesn't need him, throws coffee at him, and then now next week there's going to be a tag match. D'Angelo and Stacks against Cameron and a partner of his choosing, or a mystery partner. I think that Cameron's going to go out there alone, like he doesn't have a partner. I think they'll even start the match, and I think Joe Gacy comes out and helps Cameron win.
How did I figure that that's what you were going to say? Because that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Which will make it interesting because he says he doesn't need nobody ever. But maybe Gacy helps him win and helps him see the way.
Oh, I can't wait to get my figure out to buy it. It's a check.
Hey, did you see much of Joe Gacy before he was in NXT when he was on the Indies?
What was his Indies name?
I think it was Joe Gacy when I looked him up.
No, because I think with Joe Gacy, he, if I'm not mistaken, there's a lot of people that we never saw out west. Like I never saw Mello at all. At all.
Gotcha.
Even because like last WrestleCon I went to was it New Orleans?
But also you had heard of Casanova. So I didn't know if you had heard of Gacy.
Gacy. I did. Actually, I remembered hearing the name.
Because
someone
apparently
I know.
that smiley face button is something from his old gimmick on the Indies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let me see something here.
Yeah. I looked up pictures of him, or someone posted a thing of him recently, and he was basically there with long hair, and he had like tights on, and his name was also Joe Gacy, and it was weird to me. I was flipping out.
Actually, hold on. Oh, wait.
Kool-Aid Man says, yeah, it was Joe Gacy. He was a deathmatch guy. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. CZW. Okay. One of my friends who's a Cameron Grimes fan, she's been freaking out because she's like, please listen up. And I'm like, calm down. I don't know.
So isn't that kind of wild too? All the deathmatch guys I know out here in Arizona have made the same joke that everyone always makes, but also has said, but it's true. The idea of like, if you don't know how to wrestle, you be a deathmatch guy. They've made that joke being like, yeah, I don't know how to wrestle, so I'm a deathmatch guy. But then they look at the other guys do what they do and they go, yeah, I'm actually not very good at a lot of that other style stuff. It's just what I can do, and the crowd likes it, and I love doing it.
Yeah.
I've even seen some of them tell their kids who said they want to be a wrestler that they're like, oh, train me. He goes, I'm not a good person to train you because I'm not good at it. Let's get you someone good at it. Like, I've seen those conversations happen, right? So I'm not trying to discount all of deathmatch wrestling because I'm not at all. Matter of fact, Nick Gage, from what my understanding is and what I've seen and what I've heard, if you actually put him in a chain wrestling match, he'll do just fine. He's a very skilled wrestler.
He is. You would not think that.
Yes, but he is a skilled wrestler who happens to lean into the deathmatch thing for sake of gimmick and making the fans happy and having that persona. You know what I mean? Like, I am MDK, right? So that's just to say that when you think about like Joe Gacy being just one of those deathmatch guys on the indies who, when you look him up, you can't find a lot, but you do find that, it's like he's really good technically in ring, and he's really good cleaned up. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Because he did Evolve. And so again, Evolve, never came out this way. CZW never came out this way. So that's why it's
pretty cool.
But I will say that he was one of the ones, because I kind of think of Gacy kind of like Janela. That kind of style of wrestler. I mean, you do the death match, but then at the end of the day, you know that's going to shorten your shit. So you're kind of getting away from it. That's how I see it.
And you're skilled enough to get away from it.
You know
what I mean?
Exactly.
Let's see, as the show goes, Mako and Roxanne we talked about. Fantastic. Kool-Aid says RSP got away from death matches too. Ricky's saying Shane Page, right?
Yep. Oh, I love RSP. Fucking, there's something about RSP that I don't know. He just makes me laugh. I don't know if it's intentional or whatnot. And I had told him last time I saw him wrestle live, I was like, I just have to tell you that I don't know. There's just something about his like persona. It just makes me laugh. It just does. And I just don't know why. And then him, if you guys get Circle 6 near you guys, that's where he wrestles quite a bit, RSP, and then Atticus Cogar. That's another real good guy to watch. Deathmatch, but however, has the skills to do other things. So,
let's see, Ricochet and Trick. I'm not really going to talk about some of the backstage stuff is what it is. We'll see if it turns into anything.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about him much. If you want to, I don't have a lot to say at this point. But it looks like that Super Diva guy is going to be in a match next week. Do you have much to say about him, or you just kind of want to see how it plays out and talk about it later?
I want to see how it plays out, but you could hear like crowd reaction in the back. So I'm like, in the background, I'm like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm like, am I interested to see what this is? maybe it could be something that goes terribly bad. I don't know if this is like their homage to have someone like an Effie. I don't know. So it'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah. All right. Axiom versus Nathan Frazier, and I see Splinter Fox's comment. We're going to get to that at the end because, like you said, you had a thing you want to say about AEW, and this is an AEW question, so we'll save that for the very end. Axiom defeating Nathan Frazier in the best of 3 series. It was a really good match.
Yeah.
I have a hard time caring about Axiom right now.
I don't really care at all. Right. And that's a shame. It's a shame.
Oh, Spinner Fox says Colt is streaming right now. Amanda, should I tell him you said hi or will he ban me?
He won't ban you. Tell him that Miss Mary Jane says hi. Yeah, you could. Go. Let's see what he says. Either he'll be all, oh my God, or no.
That's cool. He said, do I play Supercard? Because there's a new Bailey Money in the Bank card that's sweet. I used to play Supercard when it first came out, so I'm sure if I logged in, I'd have some old fucking Supercards in there. But I stopped because I find that when I play some of especially the WWE games that have microtransactions, I get so into it and I like wrestling so much that I go, what's $20 here and there? And before I know it, I've spent embarrassing money on it. Not like thousands. I've never spent so much that people would be like, what are you doing? But there's always a point where I go, I've spent too much money on this digital thing for these little bits. That's why I try not to play most of those anymore, just because I will. I'm a sucker for it, obviously sucker for it. So then what I started doing too is I'd play those games, and when a thing would come out, they'd be like, oh, for $10 you can get this. I would then,
you're like, oh, okay.
Right, well, I would say, well, I want to do it. And then what I would end up doing is be like, don't do it. Take that $10, go to eBay and see what you can get on eBay physical for $10 of that person. That's why I end up with such a big trading card. I got he says guilty. He got the Bailey card. That's what I'm saying, dude. But I've got 15, 20 different signed Bailey trading cards. I've got more Bailey autographs than anybody else, because it's all well, I can get this one for this much. Oh, I'll do this and I'll save up instead. So I've got a trading card collection now that's pretty cool to me, but probably not valuable to most people, because it's a lot of Sami Zayn, a lot of Bailey, just random ones. But yeah, Axiom Nathan Frazier's good. I think Nathan Frazier should probably move around. Let's see. Spinner Fox says she looks like a sexy soccer mom. She is the GOAT. Well, those aren't the same. That's weird. Same sentence. Spinner Fox says, just tell Amanda says hi. Yeah, tell him. How should he say it? Should you say Amanda Jane?
Yeah.
Say Amanda Jane with a Y.
If you say Miss Amanda Jane, because there's a lot of Colt's kind of dingy in the head. But I know this. I will say this. If he ever references an Amanda, it's me. But when people go to him, generally, depending on who it is, he usually knows. But since I've been kind of, I don't want to say quiet, but no, he'll know. Or if I go in there, he always gets excited when I go in his things. But I don't like it because he has a click in there, and I'm like, I don't do that shit, dude. I'm old.
Well, maybe we'll be out of here in time for you to jump in there and raise a little ruckus with Splinter Fox. You two can team up in there. Splinter Fox, get your back in the chat.
You've seen him get all excited when I've been in there. Come on now.
That's what I'm saying. But Splinter Fox got your back in the chat.
I know you do, but yeah, it's hard to compete with all those people. As
weird as this Javier Bernal thing is, I actually am strangely excited to see him go up against Hank the security guard. I think this Hank dude, something about him, I think there's something about him. And so I'm excited that this coming up week we're getting Hank versus Javier, because I really want to see Hank and I want to see what he's got. I think he's going to be a hidden gem in there. That's my hunch. Or the whole thing's a mess and is awful. We'll see, man. We'll talk about it.
I was thinking to myself, okay, this is your NXT anniversary and we're getting this match. What the fuck? No offense. Yeah, no offense.
Watch him take off his shirt and he has a giant Ciampa tattoo on his stomach, just like Ciampa's face. It'd be so good. And then the main event, Braun Breaker, Tyler Bate against Gallus. I just thought it was a great match. I'm excited at the idea that we could potentially have Bate and Gallus staying here.
Mhm.
Braun Breaker's a badass. I don't know who's next for him. I really don't.
Mhm.
Like you said, I almost feel like this would have been a good time to go ahead and have him lose just so he can move up, but I don't know.
But now there's
But this
two
was great.
Brauns.
Yes, it's true. We have Braun Strowman back.
Now we have two Brauns. So are we just gonna call him Breaker?
That's
What's
true.
gonna happen?
He might. I bet you. I would bet Splinter Fox's Bailey card that when Breaker makes it to the main roster, he's Rex Breaker.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I bet you he drops Braun and comes out as Rex.
Well, you kind of have to, because God forbid. God
Especially
forbid.
because you don't want to be part of the choo-choo train that is Braun Strowman. A choo-choo.
You don't want to be on any train unless it's the windy choo-choo train.
That's true. The choo-choo train that we like is Wendy Choo. So, when Wendy Choo gets called up, she will join Braun Strowman. Yeah, Braun Strowman.
Train.
And they will be the choo-choo train.
Speaking of which,
Challenge.
I knew that was coming out. Only because producer lady's here. No.
Yeah, no, she's here.
I don't know if you touched on this yesterday, but with Braun, but you saw the EC3 because I know you and I had talked about it. Just
Oh yeah, you posted about not knowing the future of CYN.
yeah.
Well, before we talk about that, was there anything else about NXT you want to talk about? And then we'll talk a little CYN and we'll talk a little AEW and then we'll get out of here.
No, I mean I'm excited for next week. So it'll either be a wonderful celebration, or it can be a shit show.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll see. But yeah, so EC3 posted about CYN and not knowing the future of it. My understanding, because Braun had said somewhere that he had invested a bunch of money into CYN, so I feel that when he got signed over to WWE, he was all like, yoink, and taking his money back. Interesting. It's kind of wild, too, because so much of CYN was kind of anchored on Cross and Braun. And now EC3 is just standing there like Will Smith in an empty mansion, just wondering what happened here, you know? Yeah, I wonder what happens to them. I have no idea, because I know that there's a few people who... I knew some people who had been involved in some of the shows who said it was a really good time and felt like it was a nice environment, you know? So... And we talked about before, for good or bad, it's staying true to who they want to be, and that's cool.
Yeah. And unfortunately, look what happened over at AEW. But it's funny that a lot of people think that Punk should go there.
I was going to say he should. Punk should absolutely go to CYN. He should fund it, and then he should be out there being the biggest asshole in the business and actually do the thing he always said he should have done to begin with, right? The thing that's ironic about Punk's hatred for everyone backstage in AEW is these are the guys who actually did the things that Punk always said he would but never did. You know what I mean? Punk was always talking about trying to put together some money and some crew and make an alternative to WWE where the wrestlers were in charge and the creative freedom was more available. And what ended up happening? He waited for someone else to do it and then shit on them for doing it. So you know what? Punk, put your money where your mouth is, which, by the way, happens to be up your own ass. Go join CYN. Do it. Be part of EC3's little crew there, and everyone can know what you're really about.
I will say this.
Go ahead.
You know, jealousy's a bitch. It's a bitch. There are a lot of people that are in AEW that, okay, maybe they were year oneers, maybe they weren't, whatever. But there's enough people there that have done fucking hell of a lot more than CM Punk ever would do. And I find it ironic that when he says, oh, you know, Colt's jealous of me. I'm like, what? In what universe? In what universe? Okay. If anything, you were jealous of him. Stat show. People, you know, I'll go up and dig old news. But there were things that he got to do that Colt never got to do. Colt was never ROH champion. No. That's the only reason why he went back. Because it was promised to him. And again, another lie. Thanks, Adam Cole. You fucked that one up big time. I'll never forgive the Bucks and Adam Cole for that one. I'm like, that was Cole's moment. He had lethal pit. I was there.
Real quick, as far as like breaking news goes, because this is happening right now at UFC, they were doing a press conference for one of their fights coming up, and Dana White came out and canceled the press conference because apparently there were the two guys who were supposed to be in the press conference got into an actual fight backstage. Punches, kicks were thrown, as were objects and water bottles, is what's being reported. So the press conference got canceled altogether. So funny, that whole life imitating art thing. You know what I mean? Like CM Punk, this happens over the weekend. UFC gets actually heated. I wonder, do you think the UFC guys watch AEW and said, nah, we're not having that?
Dana White was like, okay, guys, who's problems with each other? Okay, we got to up this motherfucker.
Yeah, for one,
big
Dana White's all like, CM Punk ain't getting me again.
Yep. God damn it, I get that.
He's not taking my money another time. I'll tell you that right now. Let's see. I'm going to hit up the chat real quick. Oh, wait, do you have anything to say about UFC?
I was going to say, yeah, there's a lot of pettiness, and I'm all here for it. Oh, and Dana White is a person where I know that he would be pretty petty. So, yeah.
Spinner Fox does say, off the tracks, Braun, way to bust your ass on the return. Dude, it was so funny. As soon as he slipped, I went, well, that's going to be the internet for a while. Let's see. No cash cows. I'm going to get back to that one. Spinner Fox says, he skimmed Raw. It's getting better. Must be 11. Johnny Wrestling theories being groomed for stardom. Yeah, Johnny Wrestling and Dexter are like the two worst things on Raw right now. It is getting much better. If you haven't been seeing any of the Sami Zayn stuff in the Bloodline, you should definitely go check that out.
Yeah, I've seen some. I'm like,
so this is what Spinner Fox had to ask. He said AEW with a question mark, and I don't know why, but he goes, I just hope Phil is fired. We all do. He said, yes, the Elite are at fault too. They could have waited for the media scrum to end and then talked to spineless TK to get a meeting with all of them. No. But, quote, good old boy Phil said his door is always open, but then didn't say his hands will be the first thing you'll see. To me, didn't like Phil was, quote, going into business for himself, and he was acting like a baby, but saying everybody else was one. Or did he want to get fired to set up the cult talk? I don't know. Yeah, we really dove into that one yesterday, too. Like, I do think that, yeah, super hypocritical to be talking shit about people going into businesses for themselves on TV in a storyline, in an angle, because they got too personal, that now you're literally sitting with media in front of the boss, next to him, going far deeper and far worse of shit talk of the boss and all the other bosses in front of the media, not for storyline, is a whole different side of going into business for yourself. That's just being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And he goes, I just want Phil to go away and walk his dog and read his comic books. He is jealous of the young locker room. They can out-wrestle him and out-mic him, and it's been proven already. I agree with that, too. The other thing I think is ironic, I don't know if I mentioned this here or not, because I mentioned it somewhere else once. CM Punk only seems to know about Marvel Comics. Every time he talks about comic books, he talks about Marvel heroes. But he talks shit about WWE fans, saying that all they like is WWE, and he doesn't understand how people can say they're wrestling fans but only like WWE. He goes, when there's this big spectrum of indie wrestling and other alternative wrestlings, but the only comics he reads, I even saw him compare WWE to wrestling to comics and only use Marvel examples. And I was like, dude, Marvel is the WWE of comics, and you're obsessed with them. How do you not get how some people can be obsessed with WWE, the Marvel of wrestling? Like, what is the matter with you? Like, he's so dense. And then Spinner Fox says, I bet Sammy's out of the Bloodline with Little Bro coming in. Solo Sikoa's appearance in Bloodline is amazing. I hope that opens the door for Jacob Fatu, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Really get the Bloodline badass. But
it's a cool picture out there. I'm going to retweet it, that photographer Mikey Nolan had taken at an APW event that pretty much is almost, I mean, Solo's in there, Fatu is in there, I mean, everybody almost, except for the signed guys, are all up in that photo. It's like amazing when you look at this photo. You're like, holy fuck, that family runs deep. We need the whole bloodline in there. But yeah, but it's cool. See.
Yep. That's all I had to say about what he had to say. You go ahead and say whatever you want, because you also had something about AEW kind of were hinting.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on tomorrow with Rampage, because I almost feel like everything is overshadowed, but there's still some bits that came off of the pay-per-view that I'm like, what the fuck? That kind of funky Ricky Starks promo that I showed you, that was kind of funky. And I'm like, okay, so you're continuing this stupid feud, whereas, like, is it because Tony Khan is too stupid to realize that, you've got some great things, so firing Phil and Ace Steel and all that shit, no one cares, you're better off, but I don't know. And then I feel kind of bad for Mox too, who's going to go on a little vacation, which is well deserved for him. Now he has to come back to this shit. Thanks, Phil, for ruining things. Yeah, see, he's just not a good person. People, not a good person. Ruining vacations. I don't know why his dog likes him, but I have a feeling that the dog maybe was. That dog looks a little evil. So, and I know people are like, don't mess with the dog. That's rude. I go, he looks evil. Okay. I think Kenny wanted to get the dog out of the situation because he didn't know if that dog was going to bite people.
You know what's weird too, as a secondary thing in AEW, is Christian Cage also got injured, and he's going to be out 6 to 9 months anyways as well. So why beat the shit out of Jungle Boy like that? Why not just give Jungle Boy the win and have Cage come back in 9 months like nothing, like forget it, I'm over it, you know what I mean? You can still do all the other stuff and at least had a story coming out of it. Now you have Christian beating the shit out of Jungle Boy and then disappearing.
Yeah. Well, that's maybe they knew he was injured, and that's why Luchasaurus came back out and beat the shit out of Jungle Boy. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. They deal with, apparently it looks like Tony is dealing with injuries in weird ways. Let's just put it at that. Thunder Rosa, Punk, Christian, who knows? It's very weird. But we still are getting CM Punk figure 79, Cody Rhodes 105. Yeah. So
see, Splinter Fox says, I messaged Cody on Instagram and did my apologies to him. This is the why he left AEW, to get away from Toxic Phil. He fucked up so much. Go back, Splinter Fox, and watch the last promo that he cut right before his ladder match against Sammy Guevara. He cut a promo on CM Punk, and at the time it was really confusing and weird. But when you watch it now, you go, "Oh, he's completely explaining it all to everybody right now."
No,
he fucked up so much stuff. Cody leaving people, not getting. Yeah, Code Stradamus. Cody leaving people, not getting re-signed. Phil played spineless TK like a puppet. He goes, set up Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy until Christian gets back. I think you could have still had Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy without Christian having to get the dominant win like that. And he wants Jamie to BCC because she's so over the pay-per-view. Do you think Jamie Hayter fits in the Blackpool Combat Club?
Yeah,
I think Serena Deeb fits better.
I do, but DMD, that's a handicap right there. She's not good at all. And then you have someone like a Jamie Hayter, who I think is phenomenal, and all it would do is elevate her another level. And they need to have a woman in there,
Yeah.
That's just my feeling with that.
Yeah, I think Serena Deeb's a better fit, but I do think that could work. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Serena Deeb's kind of doing the shit on her own, But yes, she would be a great fit because, obviously the learning tree of Serena Deeb, Regal, and all those guys. Yeah. And then, but no. But in the style of fighting, I definitely would say, Jamie Hayter. Thumbs up. Thumbs up with that. I know. I love how petty a lot of, well, not petty. I don't even want to say petty. I just love that people who are on a certain, people have obviously taken sides to everything. Every day there's someone new that you're finding, oh, they're feeling safe to voice an opinion, which is, I think, is phenomenal. So right now it feels like the only people who are really kind of on that team Punk are the people who they think they have something to benefit from. Because I'm waiting. You're going to get some people who I think on that roster are going to be Tony yes men. So whatever Tony says, oh, yes. Some people like, fuck y'all, I'm taking a side. And I think that it's not a house divided, because I think most people are probably on the side of the Young Bucks. And I think rightfully so. But again, I don't know. Just get rid of them. Just let it go. What would have been great was if they had put Colt in that tournament and Tony gave that fucking belt to Colt.
That'd have been funny.
That'd be funny.
Fox does say, read the Elite to WWE, Marsh, it could totally happen. I actually see a world where it could happen, to be honest, but I don't know. And he does say Miro's tweet was the best about Phil, LOL. Spinfox, the funny thing, too, is if you go back and look at the timestamps of it, someone had made a comment on my feed about how Miro had tweeted about CM Punk, and it makes a little more sense now. And I went back and found it where he retweeted the Phil tweet about standing up for your coworkers, and then he retweeted it with a laughy face. I retweeted it because I thought it was funny and timely, and like 30 minutes later, Miro retweeted it himself. So I think that my retweet came across his feed, and he said, that is funny. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I just trying to see if any other news is coming out, and I don't see anything else. So I say we come back next week and see where we're at, see what the hell's going on with everything. You got anything else?
Should we go Colt Cabana? The 2-3 of us? Haha. No.
I'm not good at rating stuff. Let me see if I can.
No, all you do is you go into his thing if he's still streaming. And is he still streaming, Splinterfox?
Because that would be kind of funny to be all like, hey, we're doing that.
I just hope that people aren't in there calling him Scott. Okay? Here's my PSA again.
I think Splinterfox is the only one in our Twitch, so it would be rating just us.
Well, that's okay, because Splinterfox is there, but then I'm coming into
I'm not even logged in. I don't know how to rate.
Hey, Colt Cabana, how you doing?
Yeah, I don't know how to do it. We're just going to call it. I can't do it. Sorry, Colt. I don't know how to do it. Colt can teach me how. I'll rate him next time. All right, guys. We'll be back next week right here in the dive bar, the IWC, to go over this crazy mess. Guys. Look, see, he's saying it's host / Can you do it, Splinterfox? Do you know how? I don't know how to do this. All right, guys. That's it. I'm calling last call. Cheers.
Hey, producer lady here. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to support us or buy us a drink by following and putting the I in subscribe on Twitch. Or subscribe and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Cheers!
I would never have a drink with wrestling on the rocks.